I'm so excited to open all these toys.
Just got this package from Mermaid Hair, so let's open it and see what there is.
Look, it's a Snowy Day play pack. Thanks to Golden Bear Toys for sponsoring this video.
It's a lucrative business of bright colours, happy music, and lots of shiny new toys.
In the age of social media, children as young as 2 are making a name for themselves online. They're part of a growing group called kidfluencers.
And it looks like this job is becoming more popular.
A recent study found about 1 in 3 American kids between the ages of 8 and 12 aspire to be either a vlogger or a YouTuber.
But beyond the spotlight, there are growing concerns for the well-being of these children.
Children that are social media stars are contending with all of the social pressures of being children in a digital age combined with being a child star.
This is why you do not have 8-year-olds go on podcasts. This is why 8-year-olds do not go on social media. They do not belong on here.
The growing popularity of so-called kid influencers is raising questions about the potential impact of sharing children's lives online.
We're promoting this imagery and we're glorifying it and we're commodifying it.
It's prompting calls for kids to be banned from social media platforms entirely, and some countries are making moves to do so.
The eyes of the world are on Australia this morning after Parliament passed sweeping world-first laws overnight, banning children and teenagers from social media.
But is that solution unrealistic?
Thinking about the digital world and how it's deeply ingrained in childhood today, there are kidfluencers who do enjoy what they do.
Kia ora, I'm Davina Zimmer, and on The Detail today, the complex world of kidfluencing.
Current child labour laws don't actually account or fully acknowledge the uniqueness of their practices, which kind of goes into that murky discussion about is it work, is it play?
Is banning children from apps the right solution?
It's against children's rights, it's against common sense, it's a very simplistic solution to a very complex problem.
And how do the kids in the industry feel about living their lives online?
I'd see the people on YouTube and I wanted to make videos like that.
That's Sasha, a Kiwi 9-year-old who influences. We'll hear more from her later in the episode. But first, I sat down for a chat with Auckland University of Technology PhD student Ermin Kita Rotimi. Her research addresses the challenges of being a kidfluencer, including the blurred line between work and play. I asked her why kids like being online in the first place.
It could range from self-expression, fun hobby, but this is definitely one of the most powerful marketing tools. So if you think about it today, children aren't watching TV. They've got their iPads, they're on YouTube, they're on social media platforms. So advertisers now know that in order to reach that demographic, they have to team up with these highly paid endorsers, these children, to promote their goods and services online.
Kids being used to target their peers with advertising isn't a new marketing strategy. There have been children growing up in the spotlight of movie sets, red carpets, billboards and magazines for decades. But when they're on a set or in movies, there are rules. For kids creating content online, there are very few, if any.
It's unique in the sense that you're able to do it at home. It's not like you need to go to Hollywood to be famous. No, you can just do it in the comfort of your own home and create content. One of the most commonly discussed concerns about the kidfluencer industry is labor. So current child labour laws don't actually account or fully acknowledge the uniqueness of their practices, which kind of goes into that murky discussion about is it work, is it play? And I think it's both, and we need to acknowledge the fact that it's both. There are, contractual agreements with the advertisers. Their objective is to sell the toy, to make money. So there's going to be talking points. There's things that the kidfluencer needs to say and do in order to make sure that it's like an advert, right? There's expectations set by the parents. They're the ones that are working with the advertisers. They're the ones who are also working with the child to make sure that they are, quotation marks, performing in the right way. So you can't strictly call it as play, but on the flip side, these kidfluencers actually experience genuine excitement and joy creating this kind of content. There's murky territories that makes it complex in that you're creating content, but you're earning up to X amount of money. And so that just shows that the current laws in place, we can't actually just match it up with kidfluencer. There needs to be a whole new set of policies to acknowledge what's going on in this area.
And I would imagine it would be quite a difficult area to tackle, right? Because it's online and there's so many of them now. I mean, you mentioned that the industry has grown.
Mm-hmm.
How much has it grown? Can you put a figure on that?
It's hard to pinpoint it. What we do know that, yes, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. I would say that things have drastically grown in the last decade. Yeah, it's just definitely skyrocketed.
While we don't know exactly how many kidfluencers there are, we do know that children growing up in a tech-driven world are spending more time online, increasing their risk of exposure to threats, unsolicited attention from strangers, and harmful content. And that's just those using social media. So what about those who are the face of it?
I would say there's like three main areas of concerns. Privacy concerns. So we're thinking about exploitation and vulnerability. You know, the rise of AI could lead to deepfake. I remember reading a statistic this morning saying that about 50% of child pornography images started off as a social media post. So that just shows the effects of having a child's face on the internet, even in an innocent sense. Financial exploitation. Like I said, there's a lot of money to be made. And if there's not enough policies in place to ensure that what the child's earning is actually kept for the child, that can cause some effects in the future. And then lastly, I will say the psychological impacts. And I think at the moment we don't know much as to what does this mean on the child's well-being, the autonomy as well. And of course, we often kind of compare to like child stars and saying, okay, you know, children kind of grew up in Hollywood. What are the effects in long term? Is that the same for kidfluencers? Would it be different? We don't know. And so a lot of research needs to be put in place to actually understand what are the impacts on the child being in the limelight at such a young age and for many years afterwards.
Do we have any evidence that points to a child who is on social media and is making money off social media that changes the way that they grow up and it impacts them psychologically?
There is a recent research article that did interview kidfluencers who are now older, and they did say that a few of the kidfluencers did experience that, you know, that pressure to perform, so that their confidence got impacted, their well-being, mental health also got expressed as well. But because of how new this industry is, I feel like it's going to take a bit of time to see what are the long-term impacts on their psychological health. Again, a lot of people tend to compare it to child stars and see, okay, if a child's in the limelight, you know, this is typically what happens. This will be the same for kidfluencers. So I think we need to be a bit more patient perhaps in seeing what this would look like.
But we're already seeing the toll social media has on some of these children. Pixie Curtis, now 13, was one of Australia's biggest kidfluencers, making more than 80,000 Australian dollars just from social media ads before retiring a few years ago.
So first of all, I've got 2 of the Jumbo No Crease hair clips. So these are really good if you're doing your skincare or eating your makeup so that you don't get it in your hair.
At the time, she said it was so she could focus on school, but last year she revealed the real reason. Having a public profile was making her uncomfortable. Her mum, Roxy Jakinko, surprised the public when she came out in support of Australia's move to ban social media for kids under the age of 16. But this attempt at protecting children from the harm of online content is seen by many as a simplistic solution to a complex issue.
Banning it, I think, would be difficult, and I think it might be unrealistic. The reason why I say this is because thinking about the digital world and how it's like deeply ingrained in childhood today. And like I said, there are kidfluencers who do enjoy what they do. The demand to be a kidfluencer has increased. I remember reading a report saying that children between the ages of 8 to 12, they're 3 times more likely to desire to be a YouTuber than an astronaut. And so
I read that part of your research and I thought, when I was thinking back, I was like, when I was 8 years old, what did I want to be? And I think it was a fashion designer.
Oh, yeah.
So it's very interesting now that kids aspire to be that is actually considered a viable career path.
Absolutely. I mean, do you blame them though? Because I was even thinking about the same thing. I was like, hey, when I was 8, I was thinking of being like a weather reporter or maybe a teacher. But then I'm like, if I was an 8-year-old and I was just watching, I don't know, little Jimmy getting toys each week and getting to play with them, I would be like, I want to do that, And so, yeah, because of the fact that the digital world is deeply ingrained, that there are children who do enjoy what they do, we need to acknowledge that. That's just a reality. I think we need to figure out ways to best protect and safeguard them, as well as empower them in a way that is actually beneficial for them, rather than putting a blanket ban, because I don't know how possible that would be, considering the growth of this industry.
And also the loopholes, right?
Of course.
I mean, a parent could just create the account and then coincidentally only post their child.
There we go. And that goes into the conversation about parental autonomy. How much can the government really say about how a parent should raise their kids? You're not going to the studio, remember? This is the comfort of your own home. So the ecosystem isn't as black and white as we would like it to be. There's a lot of moving parts, there's a lot of parties involved. And so to see a ban, that would be interesting.
It's a pretty controversial issue, isn't it?
It is.
I reached out to 3.
Okay.
And they all said no. And one of the main reasons was the parent didn't want to put their kid in a position where they're going to receive hate, because there is a decent chunk of the population that firmly believe that kidfluencing is parents exploiting their kids, that forcing their kids to do something that they don't want to do. What's your response?
One of the things that surprised me in my research is actually interviewing kidfluencers overseas. And all the parents in my research said, it was my child who came up to me and said, I want to do this. And so I understand the thought that like this has to be a parental thing. This is the parents, they're the ones that are driving this. But actually, I think there's a reality that there, like I said before, there are kids who want to do this. And so kids are having to go to their parents and be like, I want to do this. And because a child, an 8-year-old can't create a social media account, they can't be the ones to talk to advertisers. Parents need to be involved in that dynamic. So, yeah, I understand the controversies around it. I understand the fear for the parents in wanting to speak up on it. And even the parents in my research were a bit hesitant at first, but they said, okay, you know what, let's just do it as an innocent hobby. And that kind of just grew into the side hustle and being able to make money, grow the child's profile, get into cool opportunities that they perhaps wouldn't have gotten if they haven't had created that account in the first place.
I'd see the people on YouTube and I wanted to make videos like that.
When Sasha grows up, she wants to be an actor. This 9, almost 10-year-old has been using Instagram and YouTube to share her videos since she was 4. Her mum, Abi, says she has always loved doing it.
When she was 5, I think that's when we hit like probably 1,000 followers, and she got like a craft box to review, and she was really interested to do that kind of stuff. And usually, when kids buy their gifts or when they get some new toys or something, they would be interested in opening it right away, but she would wait for me to actually record it. She would ask me to record her opening the toys and doing the unboxing and things like that. And it wasn't something that was forced on her. She would ask me to just take a video and she would just do some random stuff. And to be honest, she never listened to what I said. Like I would give her like a script to say, and she would not say one word of that. She would just say whatever comes to her mind.
I mean, 4 years old posting online, that's quite young. Did you have any initial apprehensions to doing that?
I initially did not think anything about it. To be honest, I wasn't sure of how safe it was going to be or things like that, because I was kind of new to it as well, because I think that was probably when kids on social media was getting popular. But when we started doing Instagram and when I realized that it's going to be public, I was a bit scared of who's watching and what's happening. But I think the only thing I can do about it is just filter who is watching. Like I try and block people if I think they are inappropriate or something, but it's her passion and that's what she wants to do. And as long as we are keeping it family friendly and the audience are all nice and polite to us, I think we are okay. I don't see anything to be afraid of at this point.
Compared to kidfluencers like Pixie Curtis, Sasha's following is pretty modest. With just over 8,500 followers, her platform doesn't act as a source of income. Abi says any brand deals they do get are a bonus to what is mainly a hobby.
I have my full-time job, so this is definitely a part-time thing that we are doing. And she sometimes gives me scripts and everything. Like if she just wants to make like a fun video, she asks if we can do it. And I just don't let her do everything. So I kind of monitor and edit what she's doing and what she's wearing so that it can be safe online as well.
Monitoring what and how Sasha films is just one of the many ways Abi ensures her daughter's safety online.
We are not extremely famous as well, when majority of our followers are from Australia and New Zealand.
Do you think that your experience is different because you're doing this content creation in New Zealand?
I definitely believe so. Because to be honest, I've seen a lot of people who are facing issues with posting the kids online. The main thing is I want her to be her age appropriate. I'm not putting on makeup and not showing her like a big adult or something. So I'm making sure that she is the kid that she wants to be and just having fun doing what she wants to. And also, I think one more thing that helps is we haven't gone viral yet. So that's probably good for not having the bad and weird comments as well.
Yeah. Would you want to go viral?
I wouldn't say no, but I want to go if it happens. I would think it should happen in a good way, not in a weird way. Yeah.
Like, let's just say hypothetically overnight, Sasha's platform goes viral and she all of a sudden goes from 8,000 to 80,000. Would that change your view on things?
No, I don't think so, because like I said, we're doing this for her passion, because she one day wants to become an actor. And I feel like this platform helps her be more confident with who she is and what she wants to do. I know that whatever we do, there are going to be people who are going to look at things in a bad way, and that can happen anywhere. It doesn't have to happen on Instagram. It can happen when we are walking to school, when we are going for a shopping. So I don't want to stop something that she enjoys and she does just because I'm scared of what other people are going to look at and how they are going to look at it.
The way some people look at the kidfluencing industry is very critically, with calls for child safety prompting governments in some countries to restrict access to social media for kids under a certain age. So what does a mum of a kidfluencer think of this?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think kids need to have an account. I'm saying this even when I'm doing the same thing, but the difference is I'm not letting Sasha access these things. And I'm not giving Sasha the phone saying you can post what you want, you can do stories, you can have an account, chat with your friends. No, I am handling her profile. I feel like when the kids are doing their own stuff, you don't know who they are talking to, what they are watching, or I don't know what they are commenting on other people or what others are commenting on them. We don't know those things. And I don't think all kids would come and share things with their parents. When I say I'm okay with the ban, I'm not meaning to ban the kidfluencers. I'm saying I'm not going to give Sasha access to the phone. But if an adult is maintaining, I think it's okay. And I think that's what's happening here all the time, right? You have all your mom influencers posting about their kids, having their kids' photos and doing all those things. But it's not being run by the kid, it's run by the parent. The only difference between that and what we are doing is I'm not showing my face, I'm only showing my daughter's, and the profile is for my daughter.
Abi thinks if the tables are turned and the platform is run by a mumfluencer, they should respect their own child's right to privacy. But she adds that we do need to accept that kids are growing up in a digital world and therefore there needs to be education for children on how to use phones and online platforms appropriately. New Zealand currently doesn't have any laws restricting social media access for kids, but there are other countries that do. According to Ermin Kita-Rotimi, France was one of the first countries to bring in restrictions. In 2023, it passed a law requiring platforms to get parental consent for minors under 15 who wanted to create accounts. In April last year, there were recommendations to tighten restrictions by banning cell phones for kids under the age of 11 and internet-enabled phones for those under the age of 13. but it's unclear whether the French panel's recommendations will come into effect.
And then there was like a slow trend in America, so a few states have also followed suit.
New York lawmakers are finalizing legislation to try and help parents control the content that their children see on social media.
A new law in the state of Utah could dramatically limit teenagers' access to social media platforms.
Several new laws in Florida will take effect on New Year's Day, including a controversial measure that kicks children under the age of 14 off of social media.
Last year, Illinois, they've also put in a financial protection policy, not just for kidfluencers, but even like children and family vlogging. So if the child is like involved in like 30% of the family's content, they're required to put 15% of the earnings in the child's account.
How is that monitored though?
With the details on that, I haven't actually seen that, so I'm actually not too sure. I would actually be curious as well to see, would that be the responsibility on the parents? Would that be responsibility on the local authorities? I know that there are a few agencies in America and where they actually make sure that the parents like provide proof that they are putting in X amount of money in the child account.
Do you envision this becoming a focus for our government over the coming years?
I think so, especially if you move away from that, kidfluencer approach of like how I describe it as, the child having its own independent social media platforms. You think about like mummy influencers, that's a pretty big market here in New Zealand. And so even if I would, I describe them as like a part-time kidfluencer where they would appear on their mother's Instagram account here and there, I think the government should look into, okay, what does this actually mean for the child? Even if it doesn't look like they've got their own Instagram account, they are playing/working with their mum for advertisers. What does that actually mean?
And what would you hope to see happen?
I would see stronger financial protections. I would actually like to see a call out on social media platforms that host these type of content, taking responsibility or accountability as to what their involvement is and what that actually looks like for the child. And maybe even more transparency between the different actors. So you've got, the parents, the child, the advertisers. What does consent look like for the child? Do they have a place for them to express their own needs, when it comes to creating content? The kidfluencer industry goes beyond that two-way interaction of, the child entertaining the viewer, and that there is a lot of, like I said, moving parts behind the scenes that make it tricky.
That's it for today. The Detail is a newsroom production supported by RNZ and New Zealand On Air. Thank you to Ermin Kita-Rotimi and Abi and Sasha. This episode was engineered by William Saunders and produced by Alexia Russell. I'm Davina Zimmer. Ka kite anō.